Welcome back. We're here to talk about Saturday's Premier League match between Bournemouth and Sunderland. Pascal, we'll start with the visitors, still looking for their first win of the season after defeat to Tottenham last time out.
Yeah, it was a better performance though, wasn't it? Spurs. I know Spurs haven't had a great start to the season, but it was always going to be quite a tough test for them. But they played pretty well, especially in the first half. And they did have their chances as well, didn't they? I know Defoe was the big chance, that one. I think with a player of Defoe's calibre, he's usually so good in front of the goal. That was probably a sort of chance he probably scores 9 out of 10 times. And it's just perhaps a bit unlucky that they just got the one time where he just didn't quite connect right and it went off the post. That was unlucky. And then second half, they conceded, and then Rodwell so close with that lovely curling shot that came off the bar. So they were a little unlucky. They restricted Spurs. Spurs didn't have many chances themselves, and the goal was, you have to credit Spurs, it was a fantastic team move. And when you watch the replays back, you could maybe argue that perhaps they could have caught Mason offside, but the timing of the Spurs passing and the way it just went, I thought it was just too good from Spurs, really. And the keeper came out, he did a really good job, and it was a great finish from Mason. I thought it was just a really good Spurs goal, and Sunderland were just perhaps unlucky that they couldn't score themselves, because they certainly created enough chances too, but you just have to credit Spurs for producing that one moment of magic that settled it. So it was a better performance than them after a poor start to the season, but they're still down there in 19th, and it's been not great from them so far.
Yeah, I think after that game, Dick Advocaat would have had very mixed emotions, because obviously the defeat disappointing, still looking for that first win of the season, which they can't get soon enough as far as they're concerned. But the performance was their best performance of the season so far. There was a lot of improvements defensively. I think they were a lot more sound. There was still a few shaky moments. Pantilimon didn't look great at times with the ball at his feet. Kabul sometimes gave the attackers a bit of impetus to go forward and close him down quickly. But all in all, I think Kabul in particular was much improved. He made a lot of blocks, kept Tottenham at bay. Tottenham only really started becoming an attacking threat in the final 20 minutes or so. O'Shea, he always seems the one solid member of that back four, and even Van Aanholt, who's had a poor start to the season, perhaps fortunate not to give away a penalty in the very first minute, but other than that, a solid game. Billy Jones at right back, solid game. So defensively, considering only they went into the match with the worst defence in the league, they've now got the second worst defence in the league. Chelsea of all teams have overtaken them, but there was a lot more positives defensively. Up front as well, Defoe, he played on the left a few games already this season. He was put in up front in his favoured central position, and it was a completely different Defoe. He was ineffectual on the left, but his movement just caused Tottenham all sorts of problems. As you mentioned, should have got a goal to his name. He had a couple of other good chances as well, set up a couple of chances for his teammates. So I'd be very surprised if he doesn't carry on in the central role, because he certainly looked like a player who could fire them, perhaps the safety in that position. He was very lively throughout the match.
Yeah, you talked about the defence being a lot better there, and that's something they have to keep doing, especially away from home, because especially if you're a struggling team like Sunderland, you can't give away too many chances. Especially on the road, where if home teams get in front, it's much harder for you to get back into the game. And you look at their away record in 2015; they've only won one of 12 games in 2015 in the Premier League. So, they have struggled away from home, and you think that their home form hasn't been great either. You look at some of their home results this year. They did play better against Spurs, but that Norwich defeat they had last month in August was really poor performance. And some of their other away displays last month, the opening day against Leicester, they were torn apart there. I know they only lost by 2 goals in the end, but it could have been a lot more in that game. So the away sort of defensive stability has to be there in this game, because Bournemouth, they've struggled at home this year, but usually they can be very good at home. So I think the defence is really, really important in this game, and they would just hope that they should be able to create as many chances, perhaps more than they did against Spurs, and they would just hope that maybe the likes of Defoe can actually take them this week, because they just weren't quite there last week.
Yeah, Bournemouth, they're also coming into the game off the back of a really disappointing result for them. They'd started the season pretty well, but 3-1 lost to Norwich last time out. Just such a disappointing result, considering they came up from the Championship with them last season. Bournemouth obviously won the title. Norwich needed to come through the playoffs. You'd probably put Bournemouth as favourites going into that match. I think all the newly promoted sides have started fairly well. They've shown enough signs that they'll be able to put up a fight for it, and Norwich certainly amongst them. They've got the tools to hurt any team in the league, I think, but Bournemouth, they would have fancied their chance in that, but to go 3-0 down, then only get a late goal back in the 82nd minute, it's a really disappointing result for them. There wouldn't be too many positives for Eddie Howe to take out of that, and especially that's the sort of game that, do you want to get 3 points out of? They're most likely going to be in a relegation battle this season. So against the teams who are also expected to be around them, of course, this is another one of those games. You need to get those 3 points on the board, and to lose pretty comfortably in the end would have been so disappointing for them.
Yeah, and you mentioned there the fixtures. Obviously, Norwich, that was a winnable game. Sunderland at home here, that's another one. And then the next 2 fixtures after this, Stoke, who have had a struggling start, and then they've got Watford as well, who haven't really been firing up front. So these 4 games now, they've started with a defeat, and they've got 3 more now coming up in the league, which they'll think, Eddie Howe will probably say he wants 7 out of 9 points here, I reckon, because they're games that you really have to win, and then if you don't, you're in a really bad position, and then the fixtures will obviously get harder when tougher teams, you play against tougher teams. So really, really important stretch coming up for Bournemouth, I think, here, because if they drop to the bottom, it might be really tough for them to sort of get back up again. And you look at their home record. I mentioned earlier that last season that they were really, really good at home in the Championship. So good, attacking, flair, and that was the one problem I thought when they came up. They were just never going to get as many chances this year against better defences, much tougher teams, and so far they've drawn one and lost one at home. So they'll certainly want to put that right here. And to be fair to them, you'd probably say Sunderland is perhaps the ideal opposition. Even though they did play better against Spurs, Sunderland should be right down there with Bournemouth potentially come the end of the season. So it's a game Bournemouth will really want to win, and I think an improved home performance is much needed, because they played so well that game at West Ham where they scored 4, but they haven't shown anything like that at home so far this season. So that's what the fans really want, and maybe they will be able to do it.
Do you see them getting that first home win of the season?
I think I do, yeah. I think Sunderland, even though they were good against Spurs, I think just watching them sometimes, I think that was maybe as good as it will get against Spurs this season, and they still couldn't win that game against a Spurs side who have struggled themselves this season. So I think Bournemouth here, I expect them to bounce back from that poor defeat at Norwich. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for them.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Sunderland, they give enough chances away to, and Callum Wilson in particular is likely to snap a couple of those up. As you mentioned, their away form earlier is terrible, and I think Bournemouth will get that first home win. I'm going to go for 2-0 as well. Spoke going for 2-0 Bournemouth victories there. Thanks for joining us.